Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the Community Consolidated School District 46 Board of Education meeting. This is the fiscal year 2021-22 budget amendment hearing, Wednesday, June 15th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. So I need a call to order and a roll call, please.
Weedman.
Here.
Mack.
Here.
Braden.
Here.
Albert.
Here.
LaCroix.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
And Nash.
Here.
Okay, that gives us a quorum, so if we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need approval of the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Miller.
Aye.
Mack.
Aye.
Albert.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
Braden.
Aye.
LaCroix.
Aye.
And Nash.
Aye.
Okay, and now we were up to the budget amendment hearing presentation.
One moment.
Having a little technical difficulties, are we? His last meeting, I can't get it right.
Present. You got it. That's all right. This is the budget presentation of CCSD 46 to amend the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. I'll just tighten the slide. That's good. The district mission: empowering learners, creating equity, cultivating community. Next slide, please. We're guided by a strategic plan, and the backbone of any school district is our board policy. We're very familiar with our strategic plan for the finance, and we obviously have our 4:20, which maintains an operating fund balance of 25 to 30%. Next slide, please. So here's our timeline. This evening is the public hearing, and after tonight, we will file the budget with the state, Lake County, and the Regional Office of Education. And as you can see, we just have 2 weeks to do that after today. Next slide, please. So here are the slides that detail the changes from the original budget that was filed in September. There's no surprises here because we've been talking about all these things for quite a long time. We have the acknowledgement of the receipt of the working cash bonds and the transfers of the Capital Projects Fund, which is approximately $9 million. And then we have the transfer of the revenues from our solar initiatives to pay for the 2022 debt certificates, which is our interest and principal payments. Next slide, please. Next slide highlights some of the significant and material changes to the budget regarding revenues, specifically increased transportation from the state of Illinois and our increased funding from the federal government, specifically our IDEA flow-through. And the net change to these is an increase of $1.1 million in revenues. Next slide, please. And as we've already stated, this has already been on public display, and after today, it can be filed with all the different authorities. And that concludes the presentation. Do I have any questions? Next slide.
Are there any questions from the board? Okay. Any questions from the public? Okay. Next, I need a motion to adjourn the budget amendment hearing.
So moved.
Second.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Braden.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Moving into the regular board meeting. I need a call to order and a roll call, please.
Weedman,
Here?
Mack,
Here.
Braden,
Here.
Albert,
Here.
LaCroy,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
and Nash.
Present.
All right, that gives us a quorum. I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda, and that includes the updated personnel addendum.
So moved. Second.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye?
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
and Nash.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have public comments. Nobody has signed up. Okay. Board reports. Anybody have anything they'd like to report out? Tamika? I'll just go, how will we start that way, go around?
Thank you, Mr. Wheatman. I wanted to take the opportunity to thank the community members that joined us on Saturday, June 11th for the Juneteenth walk/run for freedom, but we walked. A special thank you to my board colleague, Jessica Albert, for really rallying community members to make sure we had a really nice, rich crowd to support the walk through Central Park. I think we did a little bit over 5K, maybe? That sound about right? Okay. And then a special shout out to our community member, Liz Woodsker, who served as our journey woman. So she made sure that we stayed on the trail, we didn't get lost, unlike I would have done for us, and made sure we learned quite a bit of shortcuts in and around town for the trail. So thank you all so much for your community support, and we look forward to continuing this next year with even more opportunities for our community members to be engaged. Thank you.
Christy Miller?
Yeah, wanted to share that on Monday, the Community Engagement Committee took a tour of Allendale, and as a review, Allendale has 3 primary goals. They offer specialized education services, residential care and treatment services, and clinical and community services to students who have sustained abuse over a sustained amount of time. So it was, we are very grateful to Jordan Benq Lesniak, who led us on the tour and learned some principles that we can apply to after-school programming with our PTOs and PTFs, as well as with other CEC initiatives. So that was Monday.
Okay. Mr. Mack?
The CEDAW report tonight is going to be delayed because at the previous meeting, we were short quorum by one board member. So it has to be rescheduled coming up on June 29th. So I'll be reattending that one on June 29th, which I believe is a Wednesday again. And hopefully we will have a quorum to conduct business, and I'll have an update in July.
Okay, thank you. Christie?
So I have a couple things. One, I'm sorry I missed the official Juneteenth walk on the 11th. I was planning on doing my walk on Friday, so if anyone wasn't able to make the walk on the 11th and you want to walk on Friday, let me know. I'd be happy to have you join me. I was thinking maybe around Savannah or something. So let me know. And thank you, Ms. Nash, for helping us find a way to acknowledge the date on its first official year of being a holiday? Second official year of being a holiday, right? Also had the great honor of walking in the Grays Lake Pride Parade on Sunday. What a joyous event. I think meant a lot to our community, to see our school district there. We saw a lot of friendly faces in the crowd, staff, students. I think representation matters, so I think it's really important that we were there. Two people I wanted to thank, well, Dr. Glickman drove her car very quickly, so I closed my ring during the parade. No, she did great. It was super fun, and got to meet Dr. Glickman's daughter, who was amazing. So also want to thank Ms. Armstrong, who made us some awesome signs using the new logo. It was really, really cool to see the logo out and about. And there was and I wanted to thank Grays Lake Round Lake PFLAG. They're a great organization. They've always been a great resource to our district, and they did a great job organizing the parade. So really appreciate their partnership in all things. The third thing that I wanted to say was that I wanted to just let Mr. Vipon know how much he's meant to us over the past few years. Really appreciate you. Going to miss you a ton. I have a Mr. Vipon story. So my neighbor teaches in the district Mr. Vipon came from, but her students go to District 46. So when he first came to District 46, she texted me and she said, "I can't believe you got Mr. Vipon." And she said, I'm gonna miss having him as a resource as a teacher, but I'm so happy that my kids will get to experience a district where he works. So for everything you gave us over the last couple of years, totally appreciate it. And I know my neighbor is gonna be super happy to welcome you back. And I wish you and your family all the best, Mr. Vipon. And that's it.
Jason, do you have anything?
I do not today. Thank you.
Jessica?
I wanted to say thank you to my colleague, Tamika Nash, for giving us the Juneteenth celebration opportunity. And overall, the weekend was just very celebratory, and I really enjoyed both opportunities to walk with her and others to celebrate Juneteenth and to walk in the Pride Parade. And I wanted to reflect on the freedom we have to walk beside our friends and make new friends, and the freedom to meet new people, and the freedom for people to be themselves, and the freedom that we had to walk and feel welcome and safe in our community. So thank you.
Okay. I'd also like to say thank you to Mr. Vipon over there for his work during the last few years that he's been here, and I hope you have a lot of success in your next job. And also recognize that today is also Dr. Lewis's last board meeting as well with us. So thank you for your time here. I know we had your retirement party earlier last week, but again, thank you for your time here as well. And next we have Dr. Glickman.
Well, summer school is up and running, and as is the case every year, by the time summer school starts, it's almost time for it to be over. So all I can tell you is it's going very, very well, and the children are learning. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Vipond to talk about our Benq Installation, which is also going well.
It is. And thank you, Dr. Glickman. I am excited to share that our BenQ rollout and installation process so far has far exceeded the expectations, and all of the planning that we've been planning for months of preparing for this summer has just gone smoother than I think I ever anticipated and quicker than anticipated. We got our first batch of panels was delivered to Meadowview sometime early May. We got just about everything installed at Meadowview during the school year still, during the month of May after hours, so between 2:30 to 4 o'clock, the BenQ install team from our department, so our own tech team, would swoop in and get a couple panels installed in strategic classrooms, working closely with Laura Morgan there at the building. And then since then, we've continued with Prairie View, GMS, and the team should finish with Frederick tomorrow. So this is the bulk of the installs. We do have some that we need to go back to at each of those schools, but the majority of installs at all 4 of those buildings will be complete by the end of tomorrow. So that's extremely exciting, and I couldn't be more proud of the team. Brandon has been helping on what we're calling the BenQ install team, but every member of the tech team has been huge on that. So very excited to report that. And of course, we are still waiting for 2 last shipments of panels to Park and Avon. Still need panels to arrive, but they should be here by the 4th of July and should be good to keep cruising along. So very exciting. Thanks.
Thank you. And finally, some of the board members took the words from my mouth. I as well wanted to thank 2 of our team members who this will be their last board meeting. So first of all, again, Mr. Vipond. Chris Vipond has been with us for 2 years in his Director of Technology role. Chris, you have approached every project with excitement and a sense of urgency, really, that's kept all of us on our toes. And there are times when some of us say, well, wait, we can't really do that. We can't do that quickly. And Chris pretty much says, yeah, we can. We got it. And it's always true. And I recently, Chris, heard one of your team members said directly to me, Chris is the nicest person I have ever met. And that's a theme as I transition over to wishing Mr. Paul Lewis well. Paul has been with us for 6 years, and Paul, in the time that you have been with us, you have brought order and structure to our curriculum in a way that guarantees our students a viable and consistent curriculum in all of our schools. You've gotten us all swimming in the right direction, which is not an easy thing to do, and something that people don't necessarily always want to do. But because you are also the nicest person we've ever met, you got people to do it happily, which is not an easy thing. So to both Chris and Paul, we're excited for both of you on your journeys. We thank you so much for the time that you spent in School District 46. We are much better because you were both here, so thank you. And with that, I'm going to end the superintendent's report.
All right. Next, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the addendum to the personnel record that we got earlier.
So moved.
Second.
Braden,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye. All right. Next is the action items. First action item is a motion to approve the amended 2021-2022 budget, which is the reason why we had the hearing. So I just need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
and Albert.
Aye.
Okay. Next action item is a motion to approve transfer of funds from Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Debt Service Fund for the purposes of paying the debt services on the general obligation refunding debt certificates, limited tax, Series 2020. So this is moving money from O&M to pay for our debt services and paying money on the solar panels. So Does anybody have any questions on that? No? I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Nash.
Aye.
Next is a motion to approve a resolution to establish a fiscal year and authorize the development of the 2023 fiscal year budget. This is another one of those annual things that we have to do. Does anybody have any questions? Nope. Okay, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Albert,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye. And one more final annual thing is a motion to approve the school district depositories. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, I'll make that motion as well.
I'll second.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Nash.
Aye.
Okay, so that's it for action items. Next is unfinished business, and this is a strategic plan update.
Nope. Good evening again. It's really nice to be here a year later to talk about what we said we were going to do, because we're going to be able to share what we actually did do over the past year in relation to our strategic plan, and then move on to our plans for the future. Let's move on to our next slide. Clearly, you know our mission, and it came out of the building of our strategic plan: empowering learners, creating equity, and cultivating community. All right, so board, tonight we're going to go through each one of our goal maps. Now, I know you cannot possibly read what's on the screen, but you do have it in front of you. Anybody who's watching this on streaming will be able to see it, and we're going to talk these through. And so the first goal area we're going to talk about is communication. I believe I can barely see it. It's communication, right? Good, that's me. All right, so I'll start by just reading aloud the goal that was created as part of strategic planning. Review, expand, and clarify communication methods to provide consistency and transparency with stakeholders, and establish a CCSD 46 brand that supports the mission, vision, and values of the district. This was divided into two different strands: unified accessible communication and community connections. I'll start with the unified accessible communication first, beginning with our new website design. So in the 21-22 school year, there has been an enormous amount of work in planning for our new website. Moving into the next year, and that's the pink in front of you, that's the 22-23 school year, we will indeed be launching our new website with added features. At this time, we are looking at a launch in the fall, as early in the fall as possible. And we'll keep you posted on the launch of it. We will be creating a plan for shared responsibility of content updates, so that we will no longer have just one person updating all of the content. And as recently as today or yesterday, I've lost track of time, Mr. Vipond and Ms. Armstrong and I met, and we're working on that plan. And we'll be launching a dashboard with key metrics. And I know that when Mr. Wildman talks about the finance goal, he'll be talking about that as well. Then there's the new logo work. You all are looking at our brand new logo. It's right there on the screen. It's in front of you on our board table, and I believe Mrs. Nash is wearing it today. There you go. So we created our new school logo with community input. We also created new school our district logo and new school logos as well. And in the upcoming year, we'll be integrating that new logo into all materials throughout the district. We've been doing that. We'll continue to do that next year. Communication in multiple languages is the next piece of our unified accessible communication. We hired an additional Spanish translator this year. We clarified our translation expectations for school communication and instructional purposes. Moving forward into the next year, we'll be reviewing those expectations with all of our schools and offices. And consistent usage of platforms. This is our interest in making sure that we are pushing out information to our community in a way that it is best for them, particularly in the use of social media, because different people use different kinds of social media. Our goal was to be able to gather that information this year through a survey. We did do a survey, but truth be told, we didn't get a lot of response to that survey. So we'll be doing it again in the fall, maybe at a better time, so that we can have a better view of how parents are using social media and, frankly, how our staff is using it, so that we can move forward with a plan. The other area was our community connections. This year in 21-22, I was meeting with the Community Engagement Committee, the CEC, to build future action steps and to really come to a common understanding about what that means, how our community can be connected to each other. So we have a few plans moving into next year, along with plans past next year. In the 22-23 school year, we will be creating a space on our new website, a space for volunteer engagement opportunities, including historical references, so that parents who move into the community or have children entering ECC or kindergarten, or just have a kind of renewed interest in volunteering, will have one place to go to understand how they can get involved in the school district. We will also be investigating our ability to provide articles about school district initiatives for the community village newsletters and social media. So we want to get the word out through various village outlets and provide articles as possible. So that's kind of an investigation piece. We don't know to the extent that we'll be able to get those things pushed out through the villages, but we're going to give that a try. And we want to bring our students both to the school board and to the villages as well. So we're intending to bring student presentations to the school board. We saw one happen just a few board meetings ago, and it was really very moving and meaningful to, I think, all of us. So when we have some projects that we think the board might like to see, we'll bring students in so you can see some of those projects. And then we'll be asking the villages, hey, can we share what's happening in our schools with you at meetings? Can we bring students to meetings? So that will be something we'll be investigating. And moving forward into 23-24 and beyond, our CEC members are planning to create recommendations with PTO leaders regarding engaging new parents and guardians in school activities. So it's a way to reach into the community and help our new parents get involved. We're also looking at creating podcasts about school district initiatives and sharing them with our various community entities. That would again be in the 23-24 school year and beyond. And there's also an interest in CEC members and perhaps board members attending village and other community entity meetings in the year 23-24 and beyond. So that's your update for the communications goal.
So my turn. I'm going to be talking about the 2 curriculum area goals. So the first one we're talking about is curriculum area goal number 1, review and update teaching, learning, and assessment practices and materials through an equity lens to create culturally responsive learning environments. So you can see on our map we have multiple different categories that we're looking at that. And the first one, as you've heard throughout the school year, was all about our equity audit work. So you've heard that we created our DELT, our district equity leadership team. We created all the questions that we wanted to have for our forums. We had the forums. We organized all of the student and staff data that was requested from the audit. We sent all those things off And at a recent meeting, I told you that we were just in receipt of our first version back. Well, as of today, we've sent it back. So we've done a thorough review, an editing process, and one first look. And so we've, both Dr. Glickman and I have reviewed it, and we've now sent it back to get to final production. So we're excited that it will be coming back in the next couple of weeks as a final version for the equity audit. So you can see that we've done a lot this year already for the equity audit. Next year, it will be a continuation of the work to create our EAP, our Equity Action Plan. So after all the information that was collected, now we're going to have to decide as a district what do we want to do moving forward. So that will be part of it. We'll be bringing the DELT back, our district equity leadership team, to work on the EAP. Lots of initials going on. And then the following year, the hope is to implement that EAP. So you'll be seeing that at the board table to see what some of our recommendations moving forward. We'll have to decide what's feasible, manageable, and fits into our system in order to tackle first. So the next two are very related. So the next one in particular is understanding of cultural responsiveness. So we've begun some PD for our administrators. This coming school year, we'll be providing PD for our staff. We are looking at ways to reorganize some of our staff meetings and our late start times, so we're finding new ways to make all those things happen. And then we're also wanting to share information about culturally responsiveness with our community. So those are things for next school year, and then the following year is to put those things into action and to have more updated school environments specific to culturally responsiveness. The next one, as I said, is related because it has to do with PD, understanding of trauma-informed instruction. We've identified that through our union and through our work to identify that this is a need for staff and students to understand about trauma. So we'll be providing some PD for our district staff, including our opening day speaker that's already arranged to speak on this topic for all staff. And then we'll also want to share information with our school community so that everyone's aware about trauma and the impact and the things that we can do to alleviate it. So this next column, wow. This has been about our curriculum review. So first and foremost, thank you again to the board for the approval of the most recent adoptions of the K-8 literacy materials. And so we know that it's very inclusive of culturally responsive materials, and it's going to be a really amazing thing. So our instructional coaches have been busy all summer already, working and planning the professional development that will be necessary. So all the materials have been ordered. We'll be waiting for shipment soon. And then also thank you to the board, because we recently purchased new 6-8 health materials. So we'll be working on that over the summer to have those ready for next school year implementation. So into next school year, we're going to be needing to provide lots of PD. So PD continues for the literacy program and our 6-8 health. We also will be beginning to work on our social science standards. As you've heard me share before, the state of Illinois is expecting new social science standards to be coming out, so we know that we're ready for those and going to be working to unpack them. That means really getting deep understanding about what the targets standards mean, and then how we can integrate those into the classrooms. And then one of the things that we did, we'll be continuing the process with new science materials as well. The plan had been for new science materials for next school year. We decided to delay that 1 year because we realized that new literacy materials and new science materials were going to be too much for our teachers to manage. So collectively, we made a decision to push back the science. And so next year, there'll be our planning and design team working for science, looking and reviewing current science materials to bring a proposal and an adoption request to the board about science materials. And then, of course, we'll continue to look at the health standards as they officially become available from the state. We're remembering that we've been told we're implementing by 22, 23, but we're still waiting on those standards from the state. And then the curriculum cycle never really ends, so we'll continue to look at other content areas or any other thing that we need to review. So this has been a very big commitment this school year, and so I thank you personally for all of those decisions that you made. The last column is all about assessment work. We're going to be reviewing and updating assessments. Whenever we have a new curriculum, we need to look at the assessments associated with them. So the literacy assessments, we'll be looking at the health assessments, we'll be looking eventually at social science assessments, we'll be looking at science assessments as the new curriculums come together. But really a focus we want to be paying attention to is that we're looking through an equity lens in our assessment to make sure that we're appropriately writing questions that all of our students will be able to answer and to be able to participate in. And then to continue to revise those assessments, especially after we learn about the equity audit, to see if anything specific comes out. So that was curriculum goal area number 1. Whew, is all I can say. Curriculum area 2, you may notice, and I'm going to read again, investigate options for new and revised course offerings with an emphasis on world language, dual language, and encore opportunities. And so really, it's important to look at the verb, and it says investigate. So it will be spending a good amount of time researching, learning, observing, determining what we can move forward. But you'll see that there wasn't very much under this goal for this current school year. And that was purposeful because we knew this is a 5-year goal and we needed to spread things out. And so this coming school year, we have more things we want to do. We'll be creating a planning and design team, a PDT, and with the union involved to talk about the possible revisions to our school day or the structures of the school or lengths of periods or what we're offering, all those things. We have to start doing some work. So we're going to have to do some research, all those kind of things. And then the following year, we would be looking for continuing to have more consistency between buildings, and so being able to offer similar opportunities for students across all of the buildings and not just in one building in particular. So all of those things are in consultation with the Finance Committee because all of those things may cost some money. Because it either may be staffing questions or it may be time allocations. So the Finance Committee will be very important as part of this. And then we'll have to think about the feasibilities and any of the next steps we consider. So all that has to do about the structure of the day. It's been a long-time goal for the district to consider bringing back a world language. And so it's time to start doing that work again to see if we can restructure the day, is there going to be time for a world language experience? So you can see how those are connected. We will be working closely with District 127 because we want to have a seamless flow of world language from our system into their system. One of the big questions will be, what language could it be? Is it assumed it's Spanish? Is it assumed that it's Mandarin? Is it assumed that it's something else? And so we want to make sure that we are exploring all the options about language. And then continuing to look at feasibility and next steps based on the Finance Committee about what we can afford, what it can look like. Along with Dr. Diaz, it's to explore possibilities for dual language. As you heard in her presentation not long ago, the long-term goal would be to move from a one-way dual language to a complete dual language program where we have English, native English speakers and native Spanish speakers in the same classroom, both learning both languages over time. And so that would be the long-term goal, but we want to investigate if that's a possibility for us in the district. So again, it's a lot of research, it's a lot of visiting, it's a lot of determination about feasibility. Staffing is a concern, so we have to make sure that we're prepared for all those things. And then the last column is explore future Encore opportunities. We're reminded that Encore really stands for our specials experiences, so for most students it includes art and music. It might be health, it might be technology related. So we want to make sure that we are offering a consistent program for our students regarding Encore and that we're looking at all the ways that we can make that happen. So we'll be surveying We'll be looking at costs, we'll be looking at class size, we'll be looking at building space, all of those kind of things. So again, looking at feasibility and next steps financially and how the district can handle it. So you can see that this goal is more of a future goal because we were spreading things out a little bit about what we could manage. So that was curriculum goal number 2.
All right, our next goal is the technology goal. I'll remind us that the goal was written as, or to develop, review, and communicate a comprehensive master technology plan on an annual basis, which focuses on equitable and engaging technology-rich learning environments, both inside and outside of the classrooms, to serve our students, staff, and communities aligned with district goals. So I'll start in the left column there, which started in the header of just create a comprehensive master technology plan. We remembered to do that work, as I shared that plan earlier this spring. We developed and gathered needs assessment data. We created a technology and planning and design team, shared that plan here with the Board of Education, and that was the work done thus far. And then the work moving forward into next year is just continuously, as I mentioned when sharing that plan, continuously update that plan and modify that plan to meet our ongoing and evolving needs. And then that work continues even beyond next year into the 23-24 school year and beyond as well. I'll take a look at the second column there, which focused on our classroom technology. A lot of that work done this year refers back to a lot of an update I gave in the superintendent report with our Benq boards, determining the best solution to move forward beyond our smart boards and our outdated classroom technology. So we determined that solution by facilitating small-scale pilot and again working with the PDT to move forward with that. We are in the process, and it's listed as 22-23 school year, of implementing the new Benq interactive flat panels, as we will launch those officially with all of our classrooms and all of our learning spaces this fall. And then again for next year is providing the appropriate and ongoing professional development for all of our staff through that, and plans are continuing to be developed and tweaked to make sure that our staff have that professional development that they need moving forward. Next column, student and staff devices. The past work was planning for consistent refresh cycles for our students and staff. That work has been implemented by the purchase of our next batch of student Chromebooks so that we can begin the rollout of a consistent 3-grade level refresh cycle moving forward. So the future work will simply be to continue that implementation that has been started. And then infrastructure work, the final column there, we completed this past year, completed a cybersecurity and network audit and reviewed those initial recommendations. We have our managed network provider, our managed cybersecurity provider. We have the strong majority, if not all of our staff with 2-factor authentication turned on, as well as all of, we have new enterprise security software on all of our staff devices as well. So that work has been completed and will continue into next year, planning for network and infrastructure upgrades to support Wi-Fi 6, as well as some other needed upgrades when it comes to wiring, as well as our switches and our access points across the entire district. So that work will, and some of those conversations have already been started, but that work will, of course, continue this fall, and planning for the implement of the infrastructure upgrades next summer is the plan. And again, utilizing E-rate funds to do that. And then that work 23 and 24 and beyond will just continuously update and evaluate our infrastructure needs. And obviously, we hope that with those future upgrades in the next year, we will be planning for the future, but we'll just continue to monitor and plan into the future. And
Mr. Vipon, thank you very much. Mr. Lewis, Dr. Glickman, Board of Education, good evening. Hello. Going to rehash some of the stuff that we've done over the past year. You've heard everybody else go over it. Start off with our facility goals. Review, expand, and clarify the comprehensive master facility plan on an annual basis to continue to create equitable quality learning environments, both inside and outside of the buildings to serve our students, staff, and community, with a focus on aligning decision-making to district goals. If you remember, back in the summer of 2021 here, we teamed up with Wold, our architects of record, and with Train to assess our buildings, do an indoor air quality, and to create a 1 to 3 year priority list along with a long-range master facility plan. In August, we presented it to the Finance Committee, and in September, we presented it, the final, to the board. From that point on, we went ahead and we started developing it fully and put all the motions into play, started bringing in the contractors to do the work. Over the summer here, we have continued and started the work and progressed on. Above you on the backside, one of the things that we have started was on the 1 to 3 year priority. You can't see from the inside, but half of the roof is already being done on this building here. As we progress on over the years of 22 and 23, we will continue to do that priority work for the 1 to 3 year for the master facility plan. And along with that, we will continue to annually look over that plan and adjust as needed to keep our buildings up to date. Moving over to creating equitable facilities, we participated in the equity audit of our buildings to make sure that all buildings are created equal so that we will have the same learning environments throughout. Moving into years 22 and 23, Dr. Glickman, myself, and Mr. Wildman have been in talks about how we can go about making each space equitable with our technology department and what we can do to bring the community in and talk to people to get ideas. We have also decided that throughout years 23 and 24, I will bring to them, I say them, I talk about Dr. Glickman and Mr. Wildman, ideas on how we can bring in more renewable energy to the district to save ourselves money and move forward on that end also. Moving forward to creative usage of the lands, we are looking at different ways that we can expand our outdoor learning spaces, both at Avon, Frederick, GMS, and Park Campus, to be considered throughout our next steps as we have other facilities that already have it.
All right, this is the finance goal. Review, expand, and clarify financial practices to increase transparency and communication with a focus on aligning financial decision-making to district's goals. We've obviously heard that a lot in all the different budget presentations. A good strategic plan breaks goals down into objectives. So the committee came up with Finance Committee as the first objective, increasing financial transparency and communication, and improving financial decision-making alignment with goals. So I'm just going to go through each one of those, and I'm going to highlight the 2021 accomplishments that have already been finished, what's going to be looking forward through into 22-23, which is the second color, and then the third color, which is beyond into 23 and 24. So first of all, we've created the Finance Committee. Good job. That's board policy allows us to create superintendent or board committees. We did that, and we've created a board committee which reports directly to the full Board of Education and allows deep dives into those decision making and to make recommendations. What recommendations did we come forward with? Well, we did a deep dive into our long-range plan in November and December. We just heard a lot about that. And we also discussed how we would fund that. So we did a presentation using the debt service extension base, how it would be funded, and we executed on that in February and March to be able to get that $9 million. We just heard about it in the budget presentation. Going forward, we will continue to use the Finance Committee as a forum for ongoing operational stewardship. So that really is maintaining all the different goals that we have, all the different spinning plates that we have as a district to make sure that everything is moving forward. And the Finance Committee is a good way to do that if there's a financial consideration. And then we have the 23-24 school year and beyond, where we would consider the feasibility of potential funding options to address adequacy and capital needs. So the DSEB money, the $9 million, has addressed the capital needs for the first 3 years. Our capital needs go way beyond that, and we need to figure out how we're going to fund that beyond the debt service extension-based working cash bonds, and how we address the adequacy. So I've talked with you a lot about our adequacy. The Illinois Report Card of 2021, which is the most updated information I have, shows our adequacy at 65%, which puts us as a Tier 1 district for evidence-based funding. Again, you know, it may take many years for the state to be able to get us to adequacy. There are other options that are available to us based on the funding options that we have available in the next 2 to 3 years based on our debt. And so that would be a good place for the Finance Committee to discuss those options. Then we have the second objective, which is increasing financial transparency. We developed the long-range plan. We've heard a lot about that. And we also communicated the budget through the budget books and the memos. As we move forward, we're going to develop a financial transparency portal with dashboard, with key benchmarks and key performance indicators. So a lot of those are already established. We don't have to go out and create a lot of those because the Illinois Report Card and lots of the different metrics that I can bring to you through Forecast 5 will be able for us to compare ourselves to other districts. Some of the things that we might wish to think about moving forward, return on investment for initiatives. There's lots of things that we could bring forward to you, but we'll work with the Finance Committee to develop those KPIs. Moving forward into decision-making and alignment with the goals, we have obviously presented the FY22 budget. We're just finishing that. That was developed with a robust process. We've just gone through the whole process again for the 23 budget, and we'll continue to do that moving forward. We've executed the first phase of the long-range plan with clear objectives for success. That means that we've actually gone out and bid everything, and everything is put in place. And as you may recall from one of my slides in the last presentation, we are only 1.4% over budget, which I think is amazing, based on where inflation is at 8.5%. As we move forward into 23-24, the next color, we'll continue to expand the long-range facilities plan. We'll actually continue to get everything bid out for years 2 and 3, and then we will identify, as we've heard all about in the different goals, specifically curriculum goal 2, which will need a lot of feasibility discussions, but the Finance Committee, we can discuss all those costs.
That is the end of our update. I think maybe we'll take our seats because those stairs are not that comfortable. And board, perhaps you have some questions.
I have a super tactical question that I should know the answer to, which is, what is the cycle for the Finance Committee meetings? Like, when's the next one? I know they're quarterly, right? When's the next one?
We're just talking about that.
Coming soon.
Yeah. Well, I think we can share that we're actually looking at an August meeting. Yeah, we're looking at the hour prior to the August board meeting to do a Finance Committee meeting. Yep.
Great job. For one, conducting the effort of developing the strategic plan with our community partners and all the various stakeholders that contributed to it was a Herculean effort that was done well, and I appreciate the level of due diligence to bring back updates to connect the dots and help keep us along the journey. Dr. Glickman, you were speaking to my heart with the community connections and just how we can keep our community informed, not just at a board meeting or when something, boils up, right? But to keep them informed at a cadence that is consistent with the type of experience that they prefer. So I love that idea. I did have a couple of questions. 2, I believe, were for Mr. Lewis around curriculum. The first one, you referenced the equity audit data that got sent back for editing. So I was curious as to what type of edits were being done to the audit. Like, did we find errors, misrepresentations, or just simple issues needing clarity? So that was one question for you. And then the second one is around understanding of cultural responsiveness. Update school environments is targeted for 23-24. And I was curious if we have any low-hanging fruit that we can incorporate before then. So I'm reminded of the building equity book that we read together as an equity inclusion committee. And one of the things that was like, welcome back to school in multiple languages and things like that. So those are the two questions I have for you.
So I have to make sure that I give credit where credit is due, because really the editor was, and so really the edits had to do with some typos or some punctuation issues. It might have been, we had a few staff members whose titles were inaccurately represented, so we want to make sure that we honor the people with their right titles. There were a few other typos. I wouldn't say there was anything significantly, there was nothing about data specifically that we said, oh no, that data is wrong. It was more about the presentation.
Yeah, and in fact, our facilitator that we were working with, Dr. Dubiel, was very clear that we did not have the freedom to audit findings. The findings are the findings. We can't say, well, we don't really want to hear that, so please change it. That's not permissible, and so the findings are the findings.
Okay.
And then, of course, for the culturally responsive environments, we've already begun to make some changes, and we'll be adding some new curriculum materials that will change the environment. We've been adding culturally responsive classroom libraries, for example, for next school year. So we're doing small little things. But there are also things from the books that we can do about making sure that everyone is welcome, even making sure that we have identified statements around the building about inclusion and that all being welcome again, and making sure that we're defining things clearly. And so we have a number of things that we'll be doing, but we also don't want to assume that we can move everything in 1 year.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And then my last question is for Mr. Halpern. With regards to creating equitable facilities, I know you share there's going to be an assessment done to consider, I guess, or identify potential inequities in our buildings. Have there been anything identified thus far that you're aware of, like, is it something like maybe not being ADA compliant with bathrooms or any other type of compliance matters that put us at risk?
Currently, we're working on an ADA washroom right now over at GMS. There are a few washrooms that are definitely out of compliance that we are working towards moving into ADA compliance over the summer here and over the next 1 to 3 years, 2, 3, 4, and 5, as we find more money to be able to put into the budget to make it all accountable and happen.
Okay. Does that tend to be the nexus of those type of inequities that you've seen, or is it anything else that we should be aware of?
Along with that, and just making sure that each school, as the kids move on to the next tier, there's not much difference within what they're accustomed to and they're used to, so that our schools are the same across the board.
Good deal. Thank you.
I just wanted to just jump in. When we were presenting the facility assessment with our friends from Walden Train, we did talk about the different layers. We did talk about all those different things that we were going to address first. We talked about RUES, we talked about indoor air quality, we talked about BAS, we talked about all the things that were really important to us from an infrastructure perspective. But we also talked about the ability that after those are accomplished, or at least a lot of those have been put in place from a funding perspective, we were going to start looking at educational environments. So it is on the horizon from a big perspective from our architects, but we just haven't got there yet.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you.
Christy?
So, Mrs. Nash, I liked your description as a Herculean effort to create the strategic plan, and I want to thank Dr. Glickman because you and your team did this. Not only was it Herculean on a normal day, but it was in the middle of COVID, and I think it has given us a sense of calm and progress. I don't feel like we're flailing. We're definitely moving forward in a unified direction. So thank you to all of you who have been working so hard in the midst of COVID. And then just a quick question, and I apologize if you've already answered this, but when will the equity audit be available to the larger community, and how?
Yeah, certainly. So once we get it back again, we will also be getting some type of a executive summary, and that's what actually will be available. So, and we don't have that information yet. Do you want to add anything to that? Nope. Okay.
No, but then it'll be sharing it with all the different groups and coming back to the Equity and Inclusion Committee to make sure they've had an opportunity, and the leadership teams and the board, and so there will be different stages along the way of implementation.
I think my understanding of the kind of document that we're given that is meant to be, that's a public document, is the overall findings and recommendations.
But that probably in the next year generally?
Oh, yeah, in the
Okay.
next months.
Okay.
Months, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I had a couple, I think these are probably more of an opportunity for us to share with the community our progress on our strategic plan. So I wonder if there would be an opportunity to implement something inside of our new website when it comes up, some sort of dynamic screen that says, this is the goals, this is the progress that we've made along the ways, and now it's complete, and kind of, so that somebody can go and see where our strategic plan and what we have done, and know that we're making progress on something, that other than just seeing a document, then they can kind of go to one spot and see it as well. I wonder if there's an opportunity to do that at some point with the new website coming up.
So I can tell you what we already have planned, but I'm not sure if it matches what you're asking.
Okay.
So currently, these documents, the ones from 2021, 22 are on the website. But as we know, things in our current website can get buried unintentionally. So we have every expectation that in our new website, it will, this work will be more apparent. And currently, we certainly have a plan to update and put these new documents on so that anybody can see them, and can see them easily. Is that what you're asking, or are you asking for something else?
Similar to that, but, I'll try and find it here, where underneath the curriculum one goal where we talked about the literacy or curriculum review, where we've purchased the new literacy materials for K through 8, and we purchased the 6 through 8 health materials. If you kind of as the timeline goes, this is when we purchased this, and this is when it's been implemented. This is when we purchased. This is what we bought to achieve this part of the goal.
So maybe building out more of the back end of what we've already done.
As basically the verbal part of what you brought up today.
Got it.
Some sort of a little bit of a narrative that's along the way that says, this is what we've done to achieve this part of the goal.
Yeah.
And this is where we're working towards at the end.
Yeah,
So
there may even be
similar to what
areas
you're
that we
talking about.
can include links and such too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just something like that so that the community as a whole knows that we're moving forward with our strategic plan. And then
Absolutely.
the other question I had is, at what point where, we finished a component of or a goal of the strategic plan, when do we add the next goals, right? So I know this is a 5-year plan, but when do we start saying, okay, well, we've done so well and we're so far ahead, and maybe it's not a 5-year plan anymore. When do we start adding for years 5, 6, and 7, so that we can build on to this program?
I first of all think that that's a decision for all the people in this room. That would be a collaborative decision, and if we're heading out of year 3 and into year 4, and we're realizing, hey, it may make sense to do strategic planning again in year 4 rather than wait to year 5, we can certainly do that. if that's not where we are, it might just be about the board helping us to add some other goals as goals roll off. But we may decide that we're ready to do strategic planning again sooner.
Stephen?
Dr. Glickman and Mr. Weedman, your conversation just now actually answered my questions. I was going to ask about the distribution of this, but thank you for that. But I want to add my comments to my colleagues and how impressed I am with this document. Strategic plans have a tendency to be big and bulky and in, black and white print, and this is very colorful. And it shows how things are moving forward, and I'm amazed that we're a year later and we have this type of footprint on the strategic plan in the district. It really makes me proud to be part of it and to see it, so my thanks to you as well.
No, my two questions were answered, so thank you. I guess I would just add, I would love to see this proactively pushed out to our community. I think it's telling a wonderful story of what we're doing here. I think one of my colleagues said it really well, and I want it to be more than just something you can go to the website to find. I want it to be a story that we're proactively telling our community, because I think it's a great story. And I'll just pile on and say that, like, in my day job, a lot of what I do is try to help teams carve out time from what one of my clients calls getting the day out to do strategic work and actually, move things forward. So you're not just having the same meeting, the same report every year. That's not easy to do in the best of days, and you guys did it, with a little thing called a pandemic and a little thing called a flood at Frederick and a little thing called everything else that comes up in the course of a day. So thank you for that.
Jason?
I have no questions and nothing really more to add to what's been said so far. It was a good job, and I thought you guys had the right touch with the update. It was the amount of information we needed without getting too into the weeds. So keep up the good work on the strategic plan and keep pushing it forward. Thank you.
Jessica?
Everybody else has said it so well. Thank you all for your hard work and for making it easy to digest. Thank you.
Okay. So that's end of the unfinished business. Next, we have new business, and we have board policies to kind of just quickly review. We had a policy committee meeting earlier. We went through these. A lot of them have just footnotes and legal updates, like the normal type of process. But Dr. Glickman was going to go over some of the more nuanced ones that we need to have a little discussion on.
I will. I also wanted to back up for one more moment. I was just thinking about this as you said that was it for unfinished business. And I just wanted to mention to our board that we were really intentional about putting our strategic plan update in unfinished business. It could have been, a report at the beginning. It could have been new business because we have new things to share with you, but we were intentional putting it there because this is indeed, in our eyes, in our minds, the definition of unfinished business. It's what we are doing as we continue to move forward. So I just wanted to share that. All right. Yes, as Mr. Weedman said, most of the policies are 5-year updates with legal reference changes and such. But I will go through the few that have questions to be answered. The very first one that has a question to be answered is policy 230, public participation in school board meetings and petitions to the board. And there is a question to be answered about whether or not the board wishes to limit the total amount of public comment time available to public that comes. So we're not talking about an individual comment, but just how much time is available in a public comment, in the public comment time. There is the press that puts together these updated policies, suggests that a board might consider doing a 60-minute limit, but they also say if a board wants to do that, it's a good idea to run that past legal counsel to see if legal counsel has any concerns at all. So the board members who were part of policy committee did want to investigate that. They thought that doing a 60-minute limit might be a good idea. And so I said that I would go ahead and find that out from our legal counsel, and when we talk about this again at the July board meeting, I'll have that information for you.
And the second part to that was, it mentioned a 4-minute time limit for the individual speakers. Our own document that we sit at says 3 minutes, so we're gonna update our agendas to say 4 minutes, so it's consistent with what policy is.
Thank you. The next one that has a question related to it is 580 court duty. And there's, I'm just going to read aloud the questions. Would the board like to apply, okay, I have to back it up. The school code mandates a provision that says that the, you know what, I'm just going to hand this over to Mr. Wolk because I am stumbling and this is your area. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
School code requires a certain procedure for licensed or certified staff. The question is, do we want to extend this to our non-certified staff? It's a yes or no, but we will be extending it to our non-certified staff because it is in our collective bargaining agreement that we do it. So in order for the collective bargaining agreement and school our board policy to align, the answer is yes, we will extend it.
Well done, Mr. Wolk. Thank you. Dr. Wolk, thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. And finally, the last one that had questions related to it is 7285, Anaphylaxis Prevention, Response, and Management Program. And there is a question about whether or not we are, hang on a second, adopting a different policy, which is 7270, administering medicines to students. And specifically, the question is about whether or not we have on hand EpiPens for students who might need them that don't have a prescription for them. As you may realize, sometimes someone does not know that they are having an allergic reaction to something until the first time they have one. So the answer to that is yes, we do have them on hand, and so the answer to that question would be yes. We would be including that in our policy. Heather, is there anything you want to add to that? Okay, thank you. And that's it. The rest of these are just legal references and such.
Does anybody have any questions on those? Go ahead.
In looking at that anaphylaxis prevention, response, and management policy, I was wondering if we wanted to include sesame in the common allergens that are listed. I didn't know if that was something the nurses in our district recommend, but it is usually listed as a top common allergen. I'm not sure if that's something that we see in our own district.
Heather, I'm going to hand that over to you.
Oh boy. I did not consult with the nurses on that request, so I'm not sure where they, or what their professional opinion is on that. What you see in front of you is what was recommended by the press. And in this actual policy, it's just language that has shifted, not necessarily the nuances in the content, but if you want to have that conversation, I can gather more information.
I just think it's something to be aware of, maybe in the procedures or training, so that staff are aware, because sesame is kind of an odd one. People may not realize it's a common allergen to some populations. So.
That is very true. We have faced that allergen. I don't know how widely popular that is. I can't speak to that. But that is something we can embed in our admin procedures, so we can make sure we identify that in that list there, if you prefer as a board.
So I think as long as we are making staff aware of it and through our training, I think we have it covered. Yeah? Okay. All right.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
Just a point of clarification. For the 2-2:30 public participation at board meetings, are we talking 60 minutes total? So 30 at the beginning, 30 at the end, or 60 minutes per public comment?
Definitely not per public comment.
Okay.
60 minutes total, and I think it would be up to the board to see what's, it could be 60 if there's a lot of people and it's 60 minutes at the beginning, then that's the end of the public comment, right? Yeah. No, so per person, it's 4 minutes, and that's what Mr. Weidman was talking about before, that our board agendas have in fact in the past said 3, although the board policy that we have posted on our website says 4, and we will move forward with making sure people know that it's 4-minute limit per person. Yeah.
And we also talked about getting some sort of a timer or a clock so that it could run while they're making their comments so they know where they're at. So to make it a little consistent in case somebody runs a little over, and we can at least have something to back us up.
Toastmasters has a product that they make. If everyone's been to a Toastmaster meeting, it goes yellow when you have 1 minute left. It's like a stoplight. That's really useful. So.
Thank you.
I think I saw during the BenQ demonstration that there was a timer up there as well, so they could be on all the screens.
I am very impressed, Mrs. Nash. We were talking about that, and that might be the way we go. Basically, it depends on who we decide is important, who we decide is in charge of the timer. So we'll work on that a little bit, and we'll come back with a solution. But thank you for noticing and remembering that.
Okay. So that's it for policies. Next is topics for future agenda items.
Yeah. Well, our very next board meeting is next Wednesday night. Board, you may remember we're having a special board meeting on June 22nd with one planned agenda item, which is the hire of a new director of innovation. I do need to check in with our board to make sure we're going to have a quorum that evening. And in fact, we're hoping that we could have that meeting at 5:30 since it will be such a short agenda. So I know that Stephen and Christy Miller are both available. Jim, you said you could be there, but you're on shift, right?
Yep,
so
that always makes it iffy.
Exactly. So which other board members do we know we can have that? Jason and, okay, wonderful. And 5:30 is okay. Okay, great. So it'll be 5:30 here for a very brief meeting. July 13th is our next regular meeting, so remember we move into the summer months, we're in the summer months, but in July and August we have only one board meeting each one of those months. July 13th, it's a shorter agenda, but there's lots of time between now and July 13th, so I'm sure more will be added to it. Currently we have back to the policies, right, because we have a second reading of policies. We have hazardous road conditions that has to be updated every year. And then a few of us were just talking prior to this board meeting. This is kind of related to the interest of bringing students to the board. There has been conversation in the past about how we want to have a way to recognize student achievement at board meetings, whether it's academic achievement or athletic achievement or whatever it might be. So administration will bring a plan to the board at that July 13th meeting of how we might do that in kind of an organized way so that it's not just, whether someone happens to mention that something great happened. And that's what I have for the next board meeting.
Tamika?
Dr. Glickman, you just said student achievement, and it made me remember that we would be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to our D46 graduates
Yes.
that graduated on June 5th
Yes.
that are leaving us now, going off to D127. So congratulations to all the 8th grade graduates out there.
Thank you very much for mentioning that, and I couldn't agree more. We're really proud of them.
Okay. Public comments?
Yes, Ms. Sally Gill.
I'm just laughing because I feel like since I'm the only one here, I should have your attention for a full 60 minutes. So that's all.
I'm not sure we're going to do that.
So me again, Sally Gill. I realize I don't speak for everyone in our community, but I do know for sure, with my heart, and just, it's a fact. I speak for a lot of supportive people who support you in our community. So hearing your work from this past year and how you have transparently included our community in your plan is both aspirational and inspirational. So thank you for all you do. And I agree with what's been said in the hopes that you find a way to continually share your strategic plan with our community. I think that would be really important. To circle back to earlier comments, I want to reiterate how grateful we are for your leading the way with community involvement in Juneteenth Pride events and other community events as well here in Grays Lake. As some have already said, representation and affirmation matters so much. And so on a personal note and in that regard, I wanted to share something with all of you to why I believe that what you're doing is so very important. 30 years ago, when I was just 19 years old, I found my friend who had attempted suicide, and thus began my allyship with marginalized and LGBTQ plus community. She was a trans woman when this was barely talked about and even less understood, completely rejected by her community, institutions, and her family, and most of her friends. She felt invisible, unworthy, and alone, and so many other things that I could and still don't really understand. My point in telling you this is I've seen folks like her suffer and struggle so much since, rejected by communities and often families and friends. I've seen it right here in Grays Lake. I've seen it through my work as a higher educator. So for you to take part in our Little Town's Pride Parade for the second year speaks volumes about who you are and the work that you are doing. Make no mistake, through your presence, you are saying, we see you, we accept you, we love you exactly as you are. This will save lives. It will give someone hope. It will help the child who feels different and like they don't belong and that they don't feel seen. And that is everything. It's what we do as loving parents. It's what we need from our educators and all those who support them to truly see every single child. It's a really simple thing to see, to include, to affirm, to help, and to love. So keep doing what you do, ignore those who fear it, and know that we support you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. We will not be having a closed session tonight, so I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will make that motion. Second.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Braden.
Aye.
Okay, and before any of the board members leave, I do have a document you need to sign for
Yes.
the budget. So if you can sign that before you leave.